The vampire. A creature of darkness and dread, shrouded in mystery and fear. Its legend stretches back centuries, interwoven with our deepest fears and superstitions. Long before Bram Stoker's Dracula, tales of blood-drinking demons and spirits haunted ancient civilizations, leaving an indelible mark on human history. In Mesopotamia, stories spoke of the Ekimu and Utuku, malevolent entities that roamed the earth. These were restless spirits who preyed on the living, seeking to drain their vitality. They craved blood and life force, embodying the fears of the ancient Mesopotamians.
Ancient Egyptians feared the Sekhmet, a powerful deity. She was a lion-headed goddess, revered and feared in equal measure. Sekhmet had an insatiable thirst for blood. Her wrath was legendary, capable of decimating entire populations. In India, the Vaitala were demonic beings. They inhabited corpses, bringing them to life with malevolent intent. The Vaitala craved human flesh and blood, lurking in graveyards and dark places. These ancient myths, though different in detail, share a common thread of fear and fascination. They reflect a primal fear of the unknown, a fear that transcends cultures and epochs. They also highlight our anxieties about death and the afterlife, revealing much about the human condition and our eternal quest for understanding.
The vampire myth truly took shape in Eastern Europe. Slavic folklore is rich with tales of the vampire. This creature was often a deceased person. They returned from the grave to terrorize the living. Belief in vampires was widespread in Slavic communities. People lived in fear of these nocturnal predators.
Vampires were blamed for unexplained deaths, illnesses, and misfortunes. They were described as having a bloated appearance. They often had blood on their lips and a ruddy complexion. People believed certain actions could make a person rise as a vampire. These included suicide, excommunication, and a proper burial. The vampire is defined by a set of chilling characteristics. Chief among these is their immortality. Vampires are often described as undead. They exist outside the normal cycle of life and death. This grants them unnatural longevity. However, this immortality comes at a price. Vampires crave the life essence found in blood. This thirst drives them to prey on the living. Vampires are often associated with darkness. They possess a supernatural aversion to sunlight. Garlic, holy symbols, and wooden stakes are said to repel them. Their image is one of both seduction and horror. This duality makes them enduring figures of fascination.
The vampire's transition from folklore to literature marked a significant turning point in the history of horror fiction. This shift not only solidified their place in popular culture, but also paved the way for countless adaptations and reinterpretations. John Polidori's 1819 novella, The Vampire, is widely considered the first significant English-language vampire story. It introduced the character of Lord Ruthven, a Byronic and aristocratic vampire whose dark allure and mysterious nature captivated readers. This portrayal of a charming yet deadly predator resonated deeply with the audience of the time, setting a precedent for future vampire characters.
Fast forward to 1897, and we encounter Bram Stoker's Dracula, a novel that would become the definitive vampire story for generations to come. Stoker's portrayal of Count Dracula, a Transylvanian nobleman with a sinister agenda, drew heavily from existing folklore and myth. However, Stoker also infused his narrative with elements of Victorian anxieties about sexuality, disease, and the unknown. This combination of old and new themes made Dracula a compelling and terrifying read. The novel not only cemented the vampire's place in the Western imagination, but also established many of the tropes and characteristics that define vampire fiction today, such as the vampire's aversion to sunlight, their need for blood, and their ability to transform into bats or wolves. Through these stories, the vampire evolved from a mere creature of folklore into a complex symbol of fear, desire, and the unknown. Section 5. Modern bloodsuckers, vampires on the silver screen. The 20th century saw vampires rise to prominence in cinema. Early films like F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu from 1922 presented a more monstrous and terrifying vampire. This portrayal tapped into the primal fear associated with the creature.
As cinema evolved, so too did the vampire. Bela Lugosi's iconic portrayal of Dracula in the 1931 film solidified the vampire as a charismatic and seductive figure. This duality, the ability to be both alluring and terrifying, became a hallmark of vampire portrayals.
Section 6. Teen Angst and Eternal Love, Reimagining Vampires for Young Adults. The late 20th and early 21st centuries saw a surge in vampire fiction aimed at young adults. These stories often reimagined vampires as romantic heroes.
Anne Rice's Vampire Chronicles explored themes of love, loss, and redemption through the eyes of her brooding vampire protagonists. Stephenie Meyer's Twilight Saga took this romanticism to new heights. Her vampires, sparkling in the sunlight and grappling with forbidden love, resonated deeply with a teenage audience. These books and their film adaptations brought vampires into the mainstream.
Section 7. Beyond Buffy and Twilight vampires in contemporary television. Vampires have long been a staple in the world of television, captivating audiences with their blend of horror, romance, and mystery. But beyond the well-known franchises like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Twilight, there lies a rich tapestry of vampire narratives that continue to evolve and resonate with viewers today. Television series have also embraced the enduring appeal of vampires. These creatures of the night have been reimagined in countless ways, each iteration bringing something new to the table, while maintaining the core elements that make vampire stories so compelling.
Joss Whedon's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which ran from 1997 to 2003, blended horror, humor, and coming-of-age themes. This iconic series not only redefined the vampire genre, but also left a lasting impact on pop culture, influencing countless shows that followed. It presented a world where vampires were both monsters and metaphors for the challenges of adolescence. The struggles of the teenage years, such as identity, belonging, and the transition to adulthood, were mirrored in the supernatural battles faced by Buffy and her friends. HBO's True Blood, airing from 2008 to 2014, explored a world where vampires came out of the coffin. This series took a bold approach, blending Southern Gothic elements with modern-day issues, creating a unique and provocative narrative. This series used vampires as a lens to examine social issues like prejudice, addiction, and religious extremism. By doing so, it provided a commentary on the human condition, using the supernatural to reflect real-world problems and societal tensions.
These shows demonstrate the versatility of the vampire myth. From the dark and brooding to the light-hearted and comedic, vampire stories can be molded to fit any narrative style, making them a perfect vehicle for exploring a wide array of themes. It can be adapted to explore a wide range of themes and genres, whether it's a tale of forbidden love, a critique of societal norms, or a thrilling adventure. The vampire myth continues to captivate and inspire, proving that these timeless creatures still have much to offer in contemporary television.
The vampire's influence extends far beyond literature and entertainment. Vampire myths have shaped folklore, superstitions, and even medical practices.
In the past, suspected vampire graves were exhumed. People would drive stakes through hearts or sever heads to prevent them from rising.
Today, the vampire continues to fascinate and inspire. Gothic subcultures embrace the vampire aesthetic. Modern interpretations explore the psychological and existential aspects of vampirism.
The vampire's enduring presence in our culture speaks to the myth's power. It reflects our deepest fears and desires.
Vampire stories often delve into complex themes. The struggle between good and evil is central to many vampire narratives. Characters like Dracula and Angel from Buffy the Vampire Slayer embody this internal conflict. They grapple with their inherent darkness. They also yearn for redemption.
Vampire stories also explore themes of desire and forbidden love. The vampire's need for blood often symbolizes deeper cravings. These can include power, eternal life, and intimacy. These themes resonate with audiences. They tap into our own desires and anxieties. The vampire's enduring appeal lies in its adaptability. The myth has evolved over centuries. It reflects the changing anxieties and fascinations of each era. Vampires can be monstrous or alluring, tragic or terrifying. They can represent our darkest impulses or our deepest longings. This versatility makes them endlessly compelling in an ever-changing world. The vampire remains a constant. It is a figure of both fear and fascination. As long as we grapple with questions of mortality, desire, and the human condition, the vampire will continue to hold a place place in our collective imagination. From ancient legends to modern blockbusters, the vampire has haunted humanity for centuries. They are more than just monsters in the night. Vampires are a reflection of ourselves. Vampires embody our fears, desires, and the eternal struggle between darkness and light. Their enduring presence in our culture speaks to the power of myth. It also highlights the enduring human fascination with the unknown. As we continue to tell and retell their stories, the vampire will undoubtedly continue to evolve, yet their hold on our imagination remains as strong as ever.